Begin when ready.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Glenn Off. This was my presentation on the evolution and impact of sub-Saharan African music. So here's a little bit of background. The 60s and 70s era of rock and jazz in the Americas, it could really contribute to the development of sub-Saharan African music genres, given that majority of sub-Saharan Africa was colonized by, the Western world. So as many nations began to take inspiration from the music blossoming in the Western world, influence is what brings us to the present day. Like the present day genres of Afrobeat, Amapiano, South Africa, they all have roots to the influence that was placed in their countries during the mid-20th century. The increased popularity of sub-Saharan African music as of late has been a big inspiration to the evolution of modern Western music. So now it's like a little flip around now. Because now the Western world is taking inspiration from how African music genres, how they operate. We see this in collaboration between artists, samples of African sounds, and utilization of African flows and rhythms. Here's my problem statement. Although African music is gaining popularity across the globe, I still want to know how big it's gotten personally. Aside from all the data that could be on Spotify, that could be inflated from how stores stream songs over and over. I just wanted to know how much people on a day-to-day basis listen to African music. So this is my research question. How did the 70s era of rock and jazz in both the Americas and Great Britain, or just Europe in general, contribute to the development of sub-Saharan African music genres, and how did it result in those genres today going back and influencing the Western world? So here are some of the terms that I used in my survey and in my paper. Sub-Saharan Africa is just the region of Africa residing below the Saharan desert. So not Northern Africa, just Western Africa, and Central Africa, South Africa, even East Africa. A melting pot is just a metaphor used for the mixing of cultures and ideas and styles. Diversity, just variety within a group or things like that. And the Western world, just the Western half of the equator, things like that. So these are some of my assumptions and hypotheses. The new trending stars of the music industry pride themselves on versatility in their music to keep a fresh sound that their listeners won't get tired of. Seeing how sub-Saharan African music has seemingly exploded in popularity, the assimilation of African music into Western music culture was almost inevitable. The frequent collaborations that occur benefit both parties, and the result is a beautiful sound, a blend of vibrant African rhythms with the diverse sound of Western music. A couple examples that I have is everybody knows Drake. Drake frequently collabs with Tim. She's a large Nigerian Afro R&B star. We also have J. Cole. He frequently samples from African artists and bands, but a prevalent one was a sample he took from an 80s Ghanaian band called Bala et Sit Paladins. I listened to their music frequently, so when I heard it, I knew because it was really familiar. Ashake is a Nigerian pop star rapper. He collaborated with Travis Scott, Central C, Gunna on his last album. And Tyla is a South African pop star. She collaborated with Gunna as well. These are just some examples of how Americans and African artists, they just kind of bounce off each other and complement each other's sound. So the importance of my study. To me, this study is very important because it's not only going to help me evaluate the popularity of African music in general, but it can also help inform other people with music that they might not be even known as African. I've talked to a lot of people that didn't even know Tyler was African at all. They didn't. It's just things like that, and it's the more that you dive into it, the more you can find more music, the more that you can expand your appreciation for more cultures and things like that. They can find people to find more music by African influence and music made by African artists. This process will continue to grow the popularity of sub-Saharan African music. So this is my method of inquiry. This is what went through my head as I was making the survey. I just wanted to make a survey that wanted to assess the popularity of African music and music that was inspired by African music styles. I tried my hardest to keep it brief to prompt engagement because I know attention spans, people don't really want to take a 10-minute long survey. I distribute the survey in many ways. I share it through social media, having QR codes, send it to people, things of that nature. And when I receive the sizable amount of participants, I look at the data and I'll base my conclusion on it. I got about just under 80 participants, so I think that was a good amount. The following slides are just some data you can tap through these. The majority of the colors dictate willingness or a willingness or just a likeliness of just how people like African music. This question in particular was one of the first questions in my survey. It said Afrobeat is a West African music genre. It originated in Nigeria. Today, it's found all over the world. Are you familiar or have you heard these sounds before? And 94% of my participants said yes. This one below said, how frequently do you listen to Afrobeat? It's a little different question because it's more how much do you listen to it on your own instead of just hearing it. 34% said very frequently, but then another 32% said often, and then 20% said often, said sometimes. So again, even though a majority of them don't listen to it on a very frequent basis, there's a regular amount of my participants that interact with these sounds on a regular, say, weekly basis.
Go to the next one.
Mm-hmm. The rest of these are similar in to the graphs I just displayed before. A lot of these just display high amount of engagement and appreciation for African music, and it made me really happy because I'm a big fan of music. I think I got about 2 more of these.
Go back?
Am I going back?
Yes.
This last one, about Tyler. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the song Water, but it reached 1 billion streams worldwide, and it came from South Africa. So 80% of my participants said yes, they heard that song before and they enjoyed the music like her. And she's the pioneer of a whole new genre of music, because before her, there wasn't really any South African pop mixed with, South African Amapiano mixed with American pop, because Amapiano is a new rising genre. It's now really popular all over social media. So she's kind of like the first artist to blend those two styles together. So seeing as how that song did numbers on the world stage, seeing 80% of my participants would like to hear more music like that, it shows, a willingness to dive further into African music. So I think that's great to have in my survey. Yeah. Amapiano, the genre that I just mentioned, it's a lively music genre from South Africa. It uses pianos and drums and synth. It's really interesting. And I asked if any of the sounds below were familiar. I had some videos on my survey with the sounds plugged in, and 80% of them said yes. So this genre took off in 2020, so given about 5 years now, and since then it's exploded in popularity. So I really like to see people frequently engaging with African music, sub-Saharan African music, things of that nature. And then after my survey was finished, I left the poll just to see, where they stood about how they felt with African music and how, they would interact with it outside of my survey. And 42% of them gave, 10 out of 10 that they would. So I think this is some very valuable data. So my results, over 60% of my survey's findings indicate either a willingness to explore deeper into the realms of African music, a pre-existing appreciation for various forms of African music, or have seen and heard about different forms of African music and sounds. At the end of the survey, 96.7% of the test subjects indicated a heightened desire, or just over 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, whatever, a desire to explore the genres of African music. And 47.2% of them, the last one that I just showed, indicating that they're very compelled to explore the genres of African music. So discussing the results. The high numbers indicating a frequent exposure to these genres of African music, the data supporting the fondness of these genres and willingness to further explore them, indicate high levels of popularity for many genres of sub-Saharan African music. The ever-growing popularity of these genres is reflected in the data of the participants, and this data can also be used to project the growth in the amount of African music that the participants and other just American citizens listen to and enjoy on a regular basis. So this was my conclusion. I'm able to conclude from my data and various other forms of research that sub-Saharan African music genres are very apparent in the music palette of the regular American and my general data. And it's only projected to keep growing in its significance. What my research wasn't able to conclude is how apparent these genres are in the music palettes of Americans across the globe, because I wasn't able to survey that many people. A new study with more time and preparation, possibly with more resources, could probably do so. And my study is critical because it investigates the prevalence of a foreign music genre here in the United States. I believe that's extremely important because as time continues to grow, diversity and assimilation of different cultures is only projected to keep continuing. as of right now, I can name genres that are taking off, like in Brazil and Kenya, and just as time continues to grow, you're gonna see more and more of these, and you might even hear them in your stores or places of work or things like that. So I think the way that sub-Saharan music genres were able to explode could be similar to the ways that other, music genres of different countries could, gain traction and be able to take off here in the United States as well. These are my references, the very first one being my survey. Even though I'm not collecting data anymore, if you'd like to take my survey, you're very much welcome to. And thank you.
Thank you very much. We have some follow-up questions and questions, oral defense questions.
How did you determine which results generated by your research method were most important in forming your new understanding?
Well, I believe all the results were important, first of all, even the ones that displayed not particularly strong like towards African music, but I believe the ones that showed a high willingness and the ones that said, I haven't heard of this, but yes, I'm willing to listen to more of it, because those are some of the options available. I believe answers like those are really important because it shows, even if they weren't familiar with the prior, they're open to diving deeper and finding, different styles and things that they may or may not like. So I think that was very important.
Thank you.
What are the real world implications or consequences related to your findings?
Just a heightened exploration of music, greater appreciation for the difference in cultures and things like that, because music is an integral piece of a lot of different cultures around the world. So I believe starting there it can open up a gateway to just a whole different world of cultural appreciation and just accepting people's differences and things of that nature.
Okay. What was the most important research skill you developed as a result of this process, and how might you apply it to your future endeavors?
My most important research skill. I think definitely not the utilization of strictly just the big name research avenues, or in my case, just the large streaming services, because I could have easily just went to Spotify or Apple Music or just Billboard and check the streams there, because it's the easiest thing for me to be able to do. But I think diving deeper showed me different breakdowns in streams and where streams were higher in certain places and then the demographics of different people. And I believe I wouldn't have been able to see that if I just looked at the poster board that showed, oh yeah, this had 1 billion streams, whatever, but it didn't show who listened to it, where they listened to it, how frequently, things of that nature.
Excellent. Any follow-up questions about the presentation itself?
Follow-up question. American music can be summed up as European harmonic structure and African rhythms. Everything that is uniquely American music can be boiled down to that. My question to you is, or maybe you have a hypothesis on this, with the advent of electronic music and the subgenres you've mentioned in this presentation, what do you think Afrocentric music will look like 10 to 15 years from now? What do you think?
I think that's a great question, because as we see music today, especially in African music, some people already have complaints that it's becoming watered down or westernized because of the amount of inspiration that's available to them. For example, a popular Nigerian music star, Rema, he started off his career making, very distinctly Nigerian rhythms, things like that. But now his music is more slowed down, melodic. He features on more American songs, and just things like that. So I believe that while African music can keep its roots and things like that, I think as more as time goes on, it'll be kind of harder to tell the difference from what African music. It'll be harder to tell the difference from what African music is and what current R&B music looks like, because there is becoming the line between them is starting to fade away slowly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Sorry.
Brazilian, Afro-Caribbean, South African, and Nigerian. If you could only listen to one stream, which one do you got?
Well, I'm Nigerian, so I'm biased towards Nigerian music, but I love music of all cultures. Yesterday, I was listening to 3 hours of just my favorite, I forgot the name of the genre, but it's 70s, the 80s, like Brazilian, like
Psychedelic?
it's like
Psychedelic?
but it's
Yeah.
like guitar music too.
Uh-huh, yeah.
I'm a really big fan of that. And,
Os Mutantes?
huh?
You know Os Mutantes?
I
Those are another really
know.
big band from the 70s.
Dang, after this is over, I'll show you some music I was listening to. And again, in South Africa's more like, that's the more recent stuff now that's like, it's taken over and all over Africa, everybody knows like Amapiano, like, and Nigerian artists, they've adapted to it. Even places in like Europe and Spain, like Spain has like, Amapiano clubs and holdings and, congregations and things like that. So
Right.
I think, I love all of their music, but given that I'm Nigerian, I can listen to Nigerian music forever. So.
There you go.
So, were you surprised by the results in any way?
I was and I wasn't, because I was already expecting that, well, on a regular basis, I know how much, when I would ride the bus, I know how much I would hear Thames on the radio, Rem on the radio, but then I also figured maybe not everybody was as attuned to them as I was, so maybe I just noticed it more because I listened to them in my free time. But then seeing the results showed that, yeah, people actually knew who they were. I'm like, that's really interesting. Like, I like that they were aware of what they were hearing, and it shows that, some people think that there's more to African music than, some pre-existing biases that they may have that may just be, bongos and drums and all that stuff. So it really, I like to see that they were, aware of what they were hearing. Yeah.
I have a comment for you for something that might pique your interest after this presentation. Are you familiar with the term recession pop? Recession pop. It's a specific genre of overly processed pop music that appears in society when recessions are happening. It's a researchable phenomenon and it's happening right now. What I want you to do is, because you mentioned Afrobeat, right? Which is honestly at this point it's become integrated with American club music, which you probably already knew. I want you to keep your eyes peeled. Number one, research recession pop. Look into it. Number two, keep your eyes peeled for the cross collaboration of exactly what you were just researching with recession pop. Keep your eyes peeled.
Now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Pro tip. Also, check out 70s music from Angola.
Yeah, you were playing some
Amazing.
important meeting. It's some great stuff. I got some stuff to show you. Yeah, I got some really good stuff I gotta show you.
All right.
Excellent.
Are we done with our
We don't have to
panel?
talk about it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. We can keep talking.